This is Steven and Connie Jacks, and today we're going to talk to you guys about interest rates, inventory, and what buyers and sellers are doing now, right now. All right. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Good to see you again. Welcome to our lovely podcast.
Yeah, so beyond the listing, talking today a little bit about interest rates and what I think is interesting, and I'm just going to go out there with some headlines, but I heard President Trump say that house prices are going to go up. That is his
Skyrocket,
goal.
right?
His goal.
I mean, why would he not want that if he's in the real estate business?
Real estate mogul.
You know, he wants all his properties to increase in value, so you got to know that's an objective for him.
So let's talk about that a little bit. If home prices are going up, what does that look like for a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers? We've got a lot of things into play, a lot of things that we can talk about with this, but let's start with Jerome Powell potentially being outed and President Trump bringing in someone else who we feel like could aggressively slash interest rates. These are just speculations. You know, I would love...
Interest rates are complicated, though.
I would love to have a crystal ball, but...
Yeah, I mean, when you really break it down, interest rates are determined by, the employment status with the United States, and it's sort of international.
So many things that go into that.
Right. And so as
Yeah.
long as these reports are showing, hey, this is, the American people who are employed versus unemployed, how many jobs are out there, and this is how they're determining interest rates.
Yeah. Which it is complicated, and I will not jump into, knowing everything.
Well, I don't think I
about
could
that,
explain
but-
it. I don't. Even if we jumped into it, I couldn't explain it to you.
Yeah.
This is for people who are way smarter. Who know more than I do. You. So, yeah. So it is complicated, but what we can say is should we be buying now?
Well, I think that it depends is the answer. It depends on current scenarios, situations for each individual person, which is why we love to have the conversations. Like there are so many agents that are running around and saying, "Oh, it's a perfect time to buy. It's spring, it's summer. Like let's go. You better hurry up." But may not always be the case. So it really does boil down to getting super specific on what are your needs, what are your family's needs, and then breaking it down to like quality of life now. So we've got people out there we had an agent or a lady come through our open house this past weekend, right? She said, "Man, we're living here. The house is getting a little small, but we've got a 2.675 interest rate, and we just don't want to leave that house."
Right. And
I don't want to leave it.
That is the conversation that
Yeah.
we really need to have is like, you have a great interest rate. How do you, let go of that?
Well,
yeah, I'm seeing people hold on to those.
Well, we're seeing people stay, but we also are seeing people that, maybe they bought it before they had kids. Maybe they got into a house, 5 years ago that it just doesn't meet their needs anymore. So
Right.
now they're trading that interest rate for a much higher interest rate, but they also realize that house prices are not going down significantly. And when was the best time to buy a house? What is that old adage? Best time to buy a house was
Right
5
now.
years ago.
Right.
So if you think about that, what are we doing in 5 years? So people jumping into homes right now that are fitting their needs, their family's needs. That's what we're seeing a lot of.
Yeah, and here's one thing, a question that I had always thought of is just because you have a very low interest rate doesn't mean you could actually sell for what you paid for your house.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we go back and we talk about, 2020, 2021, during COVID, interest rates are crazy low and people are paying $100, $200, $300,000 over asking price. So does that price you out, like, of actually selling your house? And could you sell? And I think that just because you have a very low interest rate, you don't want to get rid of it because of the interest rate. Doesn't mean you can.
Yeah.
You might be in so deep that you couldn't.
Yeah.
Thank God you have a low interest rate.
Right. So we look at a lot of things like, your equity in the property. We do an equity analysis when we sit down with a lot of people. We talk about those things. So we talk about what does that look like? What are their needs? And I think that a lot of people are just going on about their daily lives, not worrying about things until something happens. So that something happened where, someone lost their job, God forbid. They need a place for the, in-laws to stay, having a baby. Like, life happens. And that's why I tell agents all the time is like, you've got job security by being a real estate agent, because life is always going to change for people. They're always
Sure.
going to need to move. People are getting transferred. They're going, out of town, or being transferred out of town, out of state. So lots of things happening in that regard. But I do think that, making sure that the agents are asking great questions, really doing that analysis with people, and not just it's a one size fits all
Right.
situation.
Well, let's just say like Jerome Powell did, it's kicked out, booted out, interest rates skyrocket.
Interest rates go
Skyrocket
down.
down.
Or, yeah,
Yeah, skyrocket down. The people who were kind of on the edge of moving are now wishing they would have.
Well, if interest rates fall, then home prices go up.
Right. So now you got more competition. Now
Right.
everybody is gathering together saying, I want this house because now I can afford it too.
I heard a statistic that with every half a point drop of an interest rate, 8 million more people enter the housing market to purchase.
Well, yeah. And if you look at houses sort of like Black Friday deals, right? People will go stand in line outside these stores at 3 a.m. to get a $5, My Pillow. Pretty good deal, not gonna lie, But I would rather have just paid the $20 and not had to get up and fight 100 people for the My Pillow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is that where you see, like, let's just talk about what you think is going to happen spring and summer right now.
Man, I do think that we are in for the ride of our lives. This spring and summer, I do think it is just going to be 100 miles an hour. I do believe that. I do think interest rates are going to come down. I'm going to tell you guys, like I tell my clients, you're going to wish you would have done it, because now everything's just going to evolve into a place where we're not going to get this house.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's more things that are going to have to happen for them to get it.
Right.
And that, draws the line for a lot of people.
Well, yeah. And it's not even just a matter of money now, right? Well, you've got the money to get the house, but are you willing to buy the house and waive your inspection?
Right.
Are you willing to pay over the asking price now? Are you willing to pay all the closing costs?
So let's talk about expectations for a minute before we go there, because I do think that there's something to be said for when you have a buyer that has all of these expectations of getting into their first home, and they don't have cash to pay for a property. But we've spent the last 3 years in a really, really, really tough market in real estate. Like, things have been super slow, super tough. It's been the toughest 3 years that I can remember in a long time. All the projections say 2026 is going to be super fast paced, it's going to be tougher, more competitive, all those things. But we've got buyers that, first time home buyers, let's say, they are getting ready to purchase their very first home. They're getting a mortgage. Now they're up against we see this a lot. Parents who have cash who are willing to go ahead and purchase the home outright for their children. And not everybody has the, you know, luxury of being able to do that.
Right.
So it really is a tough
Like an
situation.
unfair advantage.
It is. But right now things are we haven't gotten there yet.
Right. So
What
while
what advice would you give to someone who is flirting with the market today, thinking, I'm probably going to buy a house this year?
I would say call your agent, call your loan officer. I would get a plan together. See what you can do right now. See what's possible. See what's on the market.
Yeah, one of the things that I've always tried to do is like take my long-term goals and see how quickly I can accomplish them. So I try to shrink that. I would agree with that. I would say if you're thinking about buying this year, you should probably put that to the front of the list versus back of the list because it could potentially save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by making that decision sooner rather than later.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like, hey, I'm thinking about making a trip, but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
You know, well, let's gas the car up.
Yeah.
Let's explore it. Let's see how long it's going to take you to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people call me all the time. Hey, I'm thinking about wanting to purchase a house, and the first thing I ask them and I say, hey, man, congratulations. That's awesome. Congratulations on that decision. Do you have any money set back for a down payment? Oh, well, I didn't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
Well, these are just basic, simple questions. You know,
Sure.
let's
So
get through that.
the myth of needing 20% down to buy a house, like, you know, I hear so many times, so many people say, oh, I've got to have 20%. You really don't have to have 20%. You don't have to have anywhere close to 20% to buy a house these days.
Right.
So it really just depends on your situation, your setup, like what you need. And, you know, Sharon that I love, he always says, if you don't know your options, you don't have any. The best thing to do is to really just go through and talk to your agent, talk to that loan officer. It can feel like a scary process until you actually do it. If you've got somebody that will link arms with you and guide you through that process, like that is the most rewarding and fulfilling part of our job, I think.
I love that. Let's just say, for example, you've already called your agent. You've already called your loan officer. You're ready to go. What's inventory looking like? You know, how are we selling houses left and right, but there's no inventory?
Yeah, well, inventory is low right now because again, sellers kind of in this mindset that spring is the best time to sell their home. So they're potentially waiting for the grass to green up, to get the pressure washing done, to do the spring cleaning, to then put it on the market. And my advice to those sellers would be to do that sooner rather than later. Again, with lower inventory, and we could just, you know, drill down and get super hyper local
Right.
on this part of it, depending on where you are, what neighborhood it is. You really need to be talking to your agent about demand, what's going on, what are they seeing, because things are really picking up. We've seen a busier January and February start to the 2026 year than we saw in all of 23, 24, and 25.
So if it's not an interest rate problem, it's going to be an inventory problem.
Could be.
Okay. So, you know, here I was just thinking that we didn't have inventory because it's freaking cold outside, dude. Like, I don't blame y'all. I don't want to get outside either. Shoot, I've got my jacket, my sweater, you know, and I'm dreading just walking to the car. So, you know, I don't want to have to go outside and, you know, pressure wash my driveway. I get it. You know, is it because it's just cold outside, or do you think people right now are just really hesitant to sell their house?
Well, I think there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think that, you know, the more you know about your neighborhood and the more clear you become about your objective and your goals and you have someone that can help you put those goals back in front of you. Because a lot of times, I mean, how many times we had clients where, for instance, just example, have a couple who called me, hey, we have 2 large homes. We're getting married and we want to downsize, but we're older, so we don't want a home with stairs. We want something one level. And about 3 days into viewing properties with them, they started throwing in a few 3-story homes because the space looked so inviting, right? And it was
Right.
like one of their homes that they really loved. They had everything all laid out. And I was like, Joe, your knees. Like, I mean, we're having trouble getting to the basement at this point, like, and get back up from the basement. So, like, let's take the 3-story homes off the
Right.
list and let's go back to what your initial goals were. And I think that you've got to have someone that does keep putting those goals back in front of you
Sort of, puts you back on track, right?
because we all love big shiny things. We all love to go look at houses. We all love what's familiar. But
Well, it's sort of
if,
like walking in the Target, right? You walk in the Target with
gosh,
an
I was thinking Diamonds Direct, but you go
okay.
ahead.
You walk in the Target with an objective, and then you walk out with all these things you don't need,
That is true. That
right?
is true. That is true. Still hoping that that happens in Diamonds Direct, but yes. But bringing them back around to, what are needs versus wants? What are the clear goals? What is the vision? And then when you've got a team of people that are all on board working in the same direction, things can happen so quickly.
Right.
So you've got your agent, you've got your loan officer, you've got clear goals for everybody in front of you. You know what those mortgage payments are going to be like. Shoot, we can have you close in 30 days or less.
Right.
And all you've got to worry about is which moving company you're going to use. And we've got one of those too. So,
Yeah. And well, I think the hesitation for a seller for me
mhm,
is that inventory is so low, they don't really see anywhere they want to go.
yeah,
They don't see anything better than what they have right now.
yeah. Well, again, how much have they looked?
Right.
I
Well, and I think it's just not even a matter of how much they've looked. It's, who do you know that wants to sell their house?
well,
I mean,
and,
wouldn't you
and
want to talk to somebody that does this every day and is talking around, sending letters out, like that has a good idea about what's available? Because just because you don't see it on Zillow or just because you don't see it on, homes.com doesn't mean it's not there, right?
yeah, well, absolutely. And I don't know how many off-market deals we've done, but I think that one of the really cool things about our job, and I don't really know if a lot of agents do this, but I know we do it a lot, is we always have that list of who wants to sell but doesn't really want to go to the market.
Right. I mean,
And it's not a secret list.
no.
It's just hey, we just really don't want the inconvenience of putting our house on the market right now. We just would love to sell it behind the scenes. If you've got anybody, call us, bring them over. We, might sell if the offers are right. Um, and that's really interesting perspective too. So if you're at that point,
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to directly call us. Call your favorite agent and have
yeah,
them call us,
hmm
Like,
yeah,
that's a good place to start. Put some feelers out there.
yeah, we see that a lot too. So, um, yeah, kudos to those agents who are really trying to match up those buyers and those sellers uh, without going to market. But that is even that's controversial. There's been
Really,
a
how?
there's been a lot with Zillow saying that, hey, we will not post your off markets on Zillow if you have off markets. There's a real estate company out there. I'm not sure I can even mention who it is, but there's a real estate company out there that's been at war with Zillow a little bit because they do have a ton of off market properties that's how they market their some of their listings
Right.
to their
Well, let's
buyers.
talk about Zillow for a second. That's interesting. How can I'm just posing this question, do all the front work, have the photos done, stage the house, get this all put into the MLS, try to market it myself. And Zillow is able to take it and post it on their website and pose to be me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a soapbox that I'm not sure you want to get me on, but it is a Zillow poses as a real estate company, but they
Right.
are a marketing
I mean,
company.
and I've done it too, like just to test it out. I get on Zillow, I look at
Mhm.
my listing, and it says call agent now. Well, I've clicked it.
Mhm. It doesn't call you,
No,
does
it
it?
did not call me. Called, someone
Yeah.
else. And I'm like, weird,
Yeah.
you know?
So I think that, you know, the algorithms of the world, and as you are, whether you're a buyer and a seller, I think that you have to be super diligent and know what's going on out there. One of the things that I find very interesting that I do for every single listing appointment that we go on is, I'm going to pull up Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, and I'm going to look at all three of those crazy estimates that they have,
Right.
and
And
they post out there, and they can be hundreds of thousands of dollars apart. And you've
mm,
got three supposed real estate companies who know all about real estate giving me three different values on this particular property. So, how in the world do you know which one to trust?
oh, 1000%. Because why would I give anyone permission to put my listing on their website only to hurt me, to hurt my clients?
Mm-hmm.
They're devaluing my listing by their Zestimate
Mm-hmm.
with zero credibility. They're not local.
They're not.
And I just have to live with it. There's nothing I can do about it.
Well, you can request as a seller, as a homeowner, that your listing not be on Zillow.
How do you do that?
You have to send it in writing to Zillow.
Really?
Yeah.
So you actually have to physically send a letter into Zillow.
Or to any other syndicates.
That's
Yeah.
crazy that the MLS allows that to happen. Because let me tell you firsthand, if I were to post, a lot of the agents that I know, if I were to post their listings on my website and say, "Hey, call agent,
Call you.
call me, and this is what the house is really worth,"
Mm-hmm.
and I was
You think
posting
you'd have
it,
some hot, mad agents?
I would, but Zillow can do it,
Yeah.
and that just doesn't sit right.
They've sold the
you
bill
know?
of goods to the consumer that they are the authority in real estate, and the consumer, unfortunately, has fallen for that.
Well, and that's crazy because listen, if I were, let's say in a lot of legal trouble and I needed some information, would you just get on a website and take it for full face value that this is what you should do? Knowing that your whole life is online.
But it's on the internet, right? So it must be
Right.
true.
That to me is just wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Well, again, having that relationship, and my dad gave me some advice years and years and years ago, and he said, "Pumpkin, you had better get you a good CPA, a good accountant, a good banker, and a good attorney." And if I had to give anybody any information, I would give them those four things plus a good real estate agent, because adding that real estate agent in there, we have helped people create and build more wealth in the arena of real estate than I can count. Like, it
Isn't that
really
so
is
great
amazing.
though? Like
Yeah.
I love that feeling. Like, I get to contribute to this family's overall wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
more than just buying a house. It's finding the right investment, right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It is a it is a it's a bank account.
Yeah. And it's a very rewarding experience because, just all the emotions rolled up into that, not only being an investment, but it is a place where they build a life and make their home. And it's such a rewarding feeling at the end of the day in real estate.
I love that.
Yep. Well, it's been fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, great. All right, so recap on what we've talked about today. Prices are going to go up because interest rates are going to go down. So prepare for that
Hopefully.
this
Yep.
spring and summer
Yep.
2026.
Yep.
That's what we're, projecting. That's what I'm projecting. Um, you know, But what else though? I mean, inventory. If you're on the brinks of thinking about moving right now because interest rates are high, it may be a really great opportunity for you before you wait for all this competition to come in, and maybe you now have to pay more.
I think you just have to get your ducks in a row. Like, I mean, you cannot wait to start having the conversations with the people that matter the most and get very, very clear on your goals for this year. So, even if you did not think that homeownership is possible, there are grants out there, there are options.
Right. Well, that's what smart buyers are doing right now, right?
Right.
They're getting their ducks in a row. What are smart sellers doing?
Well, they're getting their ducks in a row too.
Right.
So,
I mean, like
same thing.
they're
But,
they're fixing some of the things that they had kind of put off a little bit, right?
right. And I think that in homes, and again, don't wait for spring fever to hit. That little bit of warmth. Look, we're going to get to people are going to start taking spring break, and there's going to be a little bit of warm weather, and oh my gosh, everybody's going to start doing it then. Go ahead and do it now. Go ahead and clean out the attic, throw the stuff away, get organized, get ready, and start having those conversations with the people that are going to be helping you and guiding you through this process. That is one thing that we offer too, going in and helping people figure out what needs to be done and what's going to bring them the most return on their investment. So, do I need to replace the carpet in my house, or do I need to put hardwood floors in? It's a great thing that we hear. We can weigh the pros and cons of each, and especially where they are equity-wise. So you got to know where you are equity-wise to know what you can do.
Solid advice. No, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
super cool.
Me too.